Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Construction Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Bradley Hartman. I'm excited to bring to you today my conversation with Mr. Kevin Carey. He's another ginger from Chicago who also moved down to Dallas. He's a friend. We're on the board together of Texo, which includes affiliation with both AGC and ABC. But Kevin Carey just released a book called Mountain Mover Manual. So in this conversation, not only do we talk about the book, but we get into more details about the importance of rejuvenation, about setting visions, about having goals, about how to achieve those, and some of the distinctions between the type of goals that you can set to better position yourself to achieve them. We talk about how not to swear when you're watching the Chicago Bears play football. Super tough. It's almost impossible. But Kevin has done it. So we talk about that and a whole bunch of other things. He's, in addition to being an author, he's an executive coach. He's an entrepreneur. He's got a lot of insights from a lot of smart people that he shares during this conversation. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Mr. Kevin Carey, founder of Mountain Movers and author of the Mountain Mover Manual. As always, thank you for listening. Mr. Kevin Carey.
What's up, Mr. Bradley?
Entrepreneur, author, founder of Mountain Movers, Southside Chicago, ginger, relocated to Dallas. I'm thrilled we're doing this.
Man, I feel like that was that one meeting we had at Fort Worth where we started breaking down the level of small world we had. Do you remember that Texo meeting?
Yes.
Where it's like, wait a minute, you know this, and we just continue to do it off air about Lockport High School and some football coaches we know together. It's a small world out there.
The legend of Jimmy Hall. As soon as you said Lockport High School, the Porters, I'm like, oh man, I didn't know that. So yes, such a small world. But you have, from the outside, and probably from the inside, you've been doing even more. You seem like a man who's got a lot of different stuff that's going on. Yet every time I see you, attitude's good, optimistic, energy's high. I've been having this conversation with a few different friends or kind of executives that we're kind of coaching on rejuvenation as a skill. Just take this anywhere, any place you want it. Is rejuvenation a skill, and how does that factor into what you do to make sure you're not getting burned out?
It's a great question. I think you got to figure out where you're at in life with rejuvenation. Like if that's where you're living day in, day out, you might have to swing that pendulum to effort and consistency and start setting some goals. And so when I think of rejuvenation, I have to force it into my life.
Right.
You know, so like with diet and exercise, like I have to allow myself a rest day. Mm-hmm. And I have to set a goal to take a family vacation. So one of our rules is one with the whole family, one with just my wife. Mm-hmm. And I have to force those into my calendar, where others it comes very natural. So rejuvenation, you got to find your definition to that. For me, like being at the gym brings me great joy. So taking time off from that is actually punishment because it delivers so many benefits to me. So like if I'm supposed to take a day off from like lifting, I'll go do cardio just because I want that like mental rejuvenation, because it provides me clarity. And I feel so often we spend so much time in the past, whether it's like those mountains of shame, guilt, sorrow, all that, or separate mountains in the future of like fear, anxiety, self-doubt. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to stay present. So I think rejuvenation does that for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. It's like my default mode, if there's challenges, there's issues, is I'm just going to work harder, work longer, and we're just going to power through. And in your book, you said like, I'm an all-in type of guy. And I'm like, that totally resonates with me. And like you had talked about your dad in the construction industry growing up, your mom drove a bus, south side of Chicago, like hard work is kind of in your DNA. When I learned that and then reading through literally like the first couple pages, I'm not sure, I can't even remember a book like this that I've read recently where I just got a donkey kick to the stomach where I've known you, but we don't know each other that well.
Yeah.
To reading in there, maybe just give us a little background of the story that put you on the path, that gave you this ambition and really changed your life. Because I think that's incredibly powerful. And I don't think a lot of people are generally willing to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll give my dad a lot of credit for the effort and how to treat people. Like he gave me those character traits growing up. And I was able to run with those. And I feel like a Southside Chicago thing, there was a lot of focus on watch out for yourself. What's in it for you? You got to hustle and grind to get what's yours. And, you know, whether that's reality or that's how I interpreted my surroundings. by the time I moved to Texas in 2010, I feel like I had that selfish motivation.
Okay.
And so in the book, I call it Purpose Solar System. And what is the sun in your solar system? And initially it was money for me. So I was chasing money. And if you're only chasing money, you can start sacrificing your morals, ethics, being selfish, running over people, that sort of thing. And I would say over the 2 or 3 years in Texas, so from 2010 to 2012, it probably transitioned to career as my son. And so similar, but I was focused on role, title, affirmation was my love language, like that sort of thing. And I just wanted to put these character traits and see how far it could take me. But I was only focused on that. Okay. And so in the solar system model, like if work is the sun of my solar system, how does faith, building a family, being there for my friends, the workouts, how do those planets revolve around that sun? Well, they don't, because work is all that I cared about. And so my badge of honor would be Monday through Friday working 12 to 14-hour days. And I loved it. There would be days I stayed at the office even when I was done doing things because I wanted to set the alarm. Like, I'm going to be the guy if he's looking at the punch key records, I want my boss to know I'm the guy opening up shop and closing up shop. And it's kind of a silly thing to strive for, but it allowed me to go down some dark paths on the weekends, because during the week, if that was my son, then anything I did on the weekend was justifiable. So I partied hard. I thought I left that all in Chicago, but I ended up bringing it with me because I had some things to work on. And so from Friday to Sunday, I would party really hard. And my justification was, as long as I'm up Monday morning to work on my son, my big purpose, it doesn't matter what I do until that breaking point that in March of 2014.
Yeah. Well, I want to stick on that solar system for a minute, because I thought you did two things in here really well, where we hear about priorities and we hear about core values and we hear about these things. And I'm like, yes, I want to keep that front and center. I'm a visual guy. And I think construction dudes, we write on plywood, we write on drywall, we write on the porta potties. Like, we are visual creatures. I needed something to kind of anchor that when I saw the solar system. And you later talked about, maybe give us a little insight, jumping to the end, about kind of the totem pole as well.
Yes.
The minute I read that, I'm like, that instantly takes these concepts that I've been reading about for a long time, that I've been struggling to try to really keep center of my mind, and instantly did that for both of those. So I thought that was really smart. Maybe just go into a little bit about kind of the totem pole analogy as well.
Yeah. So editor's cut, I'll give you this. When I gave my first manuscript to the editor, she wanted to cut the totem pole out of the book entirely. And I'm like, and she had a lot of great ideas. And then this one, I'm like, their ownership, like, I must have not articulated this well enough, because they are different. There's a clear difference in my heart, and they're both super important. So, like, purpose is like your big why. What is something so big that everything else can revolve around it and you can be rooted in it? The totem pole is kind of an order of operations. And for me, mine is God, marriage, family, and then work. And most of my life, even after 2014, when I'm figuring out my big why, that totem pole stood on its head. And I would put work first and be this joyful, the high energy person that you see at the Texo board, like that sort of person. And then my family would get the scraps. They would get a Kevin that you've probably never seen before. How's your day? Good. How's your day? Bad. How's your day? It was all right. You know, like, and giving no energy to the people that love me the most. And so, like, every year I get older, I'm doing a lot of reflection of, like, what knob do I need to kind of crank one notch? And this was a big one. So it was, how do I get this totem pole aligned? And it's not, if I put God first, the rest isn't important. It's, if I put God first, I'm going to be a better husband. And if I'm a better husband, we're working together, we're going to be better parents for our children. And if my home life is healthy, I'm going to be a better leader naturally at work. So all of them are super important, but it's just an order of operations.
Yeah, no, I think you said that well. And actually, this is one thing I highlighted, because I struggle with this. You write about halfway through, I'm the supercharged person for the people under my care at work, but then my family gets the scraps of me. They get the one-word answers, the bad attitudes, and the I'm here but not really present version of me. I flag that because I feel like I struggle with that. And I think especially now, we're recording this in July, it's the summer, my kids are around. If I'm not traveling, I generally work out of the house. And more than one occasion, despite my best efforts and the awareness, my kids get the dad's at work version of, I'm on a Zoom call with a client. Why are we screaming, at the Xbox with your buddies, right? And then I have to remind myself, like, that's not who I am, but the difference from work and life, or, home life and work life, literally is me opening my French doors. So I don't know if you were coaching me, I'm just going to lie down on the proverbial couch here.
Yeah.
How do you help people navigate that when I think a lot of people now are spending more time at home, especially in the summer with the kids around? How do you do that? How do you make sure you have enough energy and can kind of make that position change mentally to be there for both?
I think number one, just recognizing that it is an issue, because before I recognized this whole totem pole thing, there was no sensitivity to it. And so the chaos at home or the lack of effort on my behalf, I didn't really see it until you start reflecting and observing it. So understanding that there is an issue there and trying to figure out how can I be better? And so like everything in that book is things that I've personally tried on for size and it was effective for me, but you got to find your own way. For mine, it might sound silly, and this is from office to home. So this isn't the transition from home office to home. So that'd be maybe different, maybe not. But in my driveway, in the truck, I would literally shake it off. So I'd go, all right, that was a day.
Okay.
But they're about to get the best version of me. And I wouldn't bat 1,000, right? But more often I would come in with a smile. I know my wife wants to talk about her day, so I'd shut my mouth and listen. She doesn't need me to solve anything, because I just came out of solve mode. I just need to be there and listen, and then hug my daughter and not take anything out on them that happened in the day. Because those frustrations we have with our children, like I'm sitting in the stands while she's doing gymnastics, and I'm looking at my wife, my knees shaking. I'm like, she's giving no effort right now. And my wife would be like, she's 5. She's 5 years old. Why don't you pump the brakes a little bit?
Right.
It's like recognizing that when they do those things, like play Xbox, they're children. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, you're stressed out, but like, don't pass that stress on. You got to catch yourself. And then once you start recognizing it and you've went too far, whatever too far is for you, owning it and getting down to their level and saying, hey, you didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. I love you.
Yes.
And I feel like, I don't know if that's going to pay off yet because I only have a 5.5-year-old. So I hope someday those stories and vulnerability and humble moments and love, most importantly, will pay off. Yeah,
no, that's great advice. And my kids have known I historically have not been a great apologizer. And my kids, if you were tracking the number of apologies my 16-year-old has received in his lifetime, it was like 0 for like 15 years. In the last year, it just happens a lot where I jump the gun, or I'm kind of challenging him, or whatever, didn't take out the trash. And all of a sudden I'm like, that's me. It ain't you. I apologize. And I'm still developing that. But my son, he's like, that's weird just to hear you apologize so often. I'm like, I know, son. I know. I know. But I hope we don't lose that, right? I also think there's something, I don't know what it is. I think there's something to where you like shook it off and you like physically shake it off. When you physically force your body into some sort of motion that is different, I don't know what it is. I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but I'm like, there's something mentally that happens, that the transition from physical to mental and emotional, that's real. And there's a couple other things I do that aren't relevant here, but you start with the physical and that impacts the mental and emotional. So I don't know.
A lot of what I coach is, like, I have my methods of to-do lists and totem pole and resets and all that, and that's my way. Just have a method. Figure out what works for you because it's worth it. There's been this sentence that's just been ingrained in my soul lately, that what walks in you will run in your children. And so that could be either a terrifying thing or a great opportunity, right? Like goal achieving, like some of these principles in the books. Again, I got to remember my totem pole, and I'm coaching these to leaders in construction. But what about my family? Are we doing a goal achieving sheet as a family? Loosely, but I'm holding all the people I'm coaching accountable. And so like there's great things you could do, but also there's terrifying things. Like there's going to be a day, and I didn't see this coming with the intro of the book. It wasn't my choice to put that intro in the book. Someday I'll be able to have a conversation with my daughter and say, hey, I want you to read this intro and then let's go grab lunch. And be able to tell her that, hey, this is kind of in your genetics. So, and I'm sorry, it just runs, there's a genetic code there. I believe that firmly. And you might get into a peer pressure situation and try something. Your friends may be able to pull in and pull out. Unfortunately, I think you don't have a shutoff valve, and it could take you to some dark and scary places. Just know that you have that. And so maybe this will be an instrument, even with parenting, where I can just open up, be vulnerable, share some of the wounds, and just prepare her for the future.
Yeah. Well, I think so many high achievers in our industry and outside of it, it's this thin line of what makes them great and what makes them want to achieve more and help more people and grow their businesses and all of that. That is a form of this addictive personality. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I feel that too. And it's like, you get that mindset and that commitment, and this is who I am and this is what I do, that identity, you get that pointed in the wrong direction. And, a lot of us can find ourselves going down this path we're all in.
Yeah.
And like, that's what you get,
Yes.
So I think that self-awareness is so powerful.
Yeah. And earlier you said that whole 0 to 100 thing. So like, what are we saying as our identity? Mm-hmm. And so that's one. Earlier this week that I was talking to somebody, and I don't know what my 2024 goals are going to be yet, but it might be something like find 50. Like, stop saying you're a 0 to 100, or you're going to continue manifesting that you're 0 to 100.
Yeah.
My family neither wants me at 0 or 100. That's not how they operate, So, and what I mean by 0 to 100 is I'm either all in, or so like Saturday routine, for example. I wake up, talk to my wife, 10K ice bath, and then it's family time. But if
You run a 10K every Saturday?
Every Saturday. Because I don't want to lose that endurance from marathon running, because endurance free falls. So I just want to always have it, I guess. So it's, lunatic.
God bless you.
Yeah,
Carry on.
So if I go on the couch, I turn to 0. Like if you need a forklift to get me off the couch, because I don't want to move anymore. And then my daughter's asked me to go play. Let's go outside. And I'm, no thanks. Well, that's not fair to her. And my identity is I'm a 0 to 100 guy. Well, what does 50 look like? Yeah. And so how am I going to set a consistency goal that says after 10 minutes on the couch, you're going to get up and do something? Because I need to break that. I need to break that 0 to 100 for my family's sake.
I love the fact that you just said this statement to me and to our audience, is that I don't know what my 2024 goals are yet. The fact that you are already thinking, right? Most people are like, I don't know, maybe December 28th or January 2nd, I'll come up with my goals. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between consistency and stretch goals? And maybe I have a couple examples I want to ask you about that you wrote about in the book, but maybe just a high level for our audience. What's the difference between a consistency and stretch goals, and how you help people think about those? Because I know you know this, I see it firsthand. Everybody listening knows goals are important. Oh, man. And those people that set goals and review them often are exponentially more likely to achieve them. And yet, a lot of us don't, right? Whether it's individuals or teams. So maybe go into that difference between a consistency and stretch goal.
Consistency is key in anything in life. Like, habits plus consistency is such a force multiplier in any facet of your life. And it is what's missing. That's why New Year's resolutions fall off. The gym's packed in January. By mid-February, it's back to the regulars, because they got consistency figured out and the other people don't. And so consistency goals are, you are capable of doing it with the person you are today. You just have to keep showing up. So a lot of people set reading goals. All of them that I know how to read. They just have to keep showing up. Gym 3 times a week. They have a membership. They just have to keep showing up. So consistency goals you can currently do with who you are today. A stretch goal is, I can't currently do it with who I am today, but if I put in the effort, the consistency, the reps, the full commitment, maybe I can get there. And I have a worksheet that works through this. And what some potential that's been unlocked is you can set consistency goals to feed your stretch goals. And so if I want to run a marathon, maybe I'm running 10 miles a week or something like that, or I'm committed to a marathon plan or something like that. If I want to serve in ministry, maybe as a stretch goal, my consistency goal is being in the Bible every day and showing up to church regularly and surrounding myself around people that are more faith-based. So you can use what you can currently do to feed what you can't and what you wish you could do.
So tell me how that tied into no swearing. You mentioned this at one of our board meetings for Texo, and you said this year, my goal is no swearing. Now, my wife was a prosecutor for Cook County, south side of Chicago.
Oh, bring it.
And we had to do some detoxification. Now, this is like, I feel part of this is Chicagoans, but I think it's maybe just a lack of control. And we're being in construction. I generally color my language with some curse words from time to time.
Totally.
But my wife got home and was when we had young kids, and she was working with police officers, investigators, and in the court every day with judges. There's a different vernacular down there.
Yeah.
And she would come home and I'm like, hey, I'm not sure you have to drop the F-bomb when I just said, what are we having for dinner?
Yes.
And she goes, I didn't. And I'm like, so I started recording her. So we together have come closer to this. We're better. But the idea that I'm not going to swear at all this year is an insane goal. Tell me about how that came up for you. And tell the story to the degree you can that drove that. I'm fascinated by it.
Oh, it's awesome now looking back on it. But in the moment I was like, oh my goodness. So those identity things like 0 to 100, I'm a South Side of Chicagoan that's in construction. And that combo, like your wife, I used to use the F word like a placeholder. So like I'm thinking, I'm like out loud, I'm like effing, like it's just so natural.
Yes.
And so my wife would warn me like, you have to stop swearing around the house. Quinn, our daughter, is going to start picking this stuff up. And one day we were leaving a restaurant and I pulled out of the parking lot onto the frontage road of the highway and it shook and rattled the vehicle pretty hard. And out of the back seat, my then 4-year-old princess said, "Oh, what the f?" And I looked at my wife and she looked and we didn't react because, if you overreact, they're like, oh, that was a thing. Let's keep doing it.
Yes, let's double down on that.
Yeah, so we didn't do anything. The very next day, we were doing yard work in the front lawn. My wife was picking flowers out of the front and my daughter goes up to her and is like, "What are you doing? Why are you picking the flowers out?" And she's like, "Well, babe, they died." And she's like, "Oh, what the f?" So... okay, this is a thing, and she's using it at the appropriate time.
I was going to say, the good news is the context
spot on
is perfect. So that's the silver lining.
So defensively, we started throwing no more Christmas, birthday, you're grounded, tablet, like throwing the gauntlet at her. And because she's my daughter, she thought about that, reflected, and came back and said, "You know what? I'm going to stop saying what the f." And she learned how to get the permission slip sign to keep saying it. Like if you're ever at a kitchen table with my daughter and she says, "Hey, you know what I can't say?" Like buckle up because it's coming. But that took okay, we're punishing her, but what runs in or walks in us runs in our children. Yeah. She's just doing what she's hearing from me. This is my ownership. And so what ended up being a defensive item where we're playing defense trying to get her to stop then became me looking in the mirror like, what are you going to do about this? Your identity, you're Southside Chicago and you're in construction. So what? Right. Be better. Be better for your daughter. Be better for your family. And so that was I don't know, October-ish of 2022. So now, and I'm in this goal pattern where as I develop or see a new weakness, all right, I'm going to pin that because I'm not ready for it now, but I'm going to attack it at X date. And so when January of that must have been 2021. So January of 2022, my stretch goal, because it's not a consistency goal, was remove swearing from my vocabulary. And so as a consistency piece, I put a nerd spreadsheet together with every single day of the year, and there would be the date, how many swears, and notes. And so I think it's kind of like budgeting as well. As soon as I started tracking it, who knows what I was saying, probably 20, 30, 40, 50 a day. Right. It was down to 8. And I would put it in there, and I would be in conversation with you, and I would accidentally swear and be like, "Oh," and then I'd write it down, and you'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd explain it.
Yes.
And you're like, "Oh, okay." And those 8s would turn to 7s, the 7s to 6s, 5, 4, 3. And then it was down to, by May-ish, June, 1 or 0. And then by September, I was done with the spreadsheet. I didn't need to track it anymore. Something crazy has to happen in order for me to swear at this point in my life. And it just goes to show, what are we manifesting through our identity? Yeah. There are things you can play offense at and change if you put in the consistency, full commitment to do it. And guess what? You're going to rub off on other people because plenty of other people set that as goals in their life. Eddie, when we were talking through it, he's like, "You know what? I'm going to make that a goal of mine." People around our office would apologize when they swore around me. I'd be like, "My goal, not yours. I am not I've said all those, we're good."
Yes.
But they're like, "Well, I want to respect you and not do it," which was helping them become better just by leading from example. Yep. And guess who doesn't swear anymore?
You're clean.
Quinn.
Oh, more importantly.
Yes. The byproduct.
Yes.
She stopped doing it. Of course it was me.
Yeah. It begs the question, though, How are you watching the Chicago Bears over the last couple of years and not dropping F-bombs and throwing your shoe at the television like I am?
Well, the double doink was pre-swear goal.
Okay. The double that elicited an F-bomb from me for sure. Yes.
Every year I buy NFL Sunday ticket for whatever it is, $400, and by week 2 I'm like, I want a refund.
What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself?
No, maybe with Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers at the Jets, maybe we got a chance in the division, but the Lions look strong. I don't know, but that is very tough. So my things to watch out for are home improvement projects. That Saturday 10K, because I don't run on like a track. I'm on roads and stuff, and nobody's paying attention.
Yep.
And like once I've been hit a few times, I've been in the hospital once. Like I'm choosing to be out there, and what helps me is pre-deciding like somebody's going to cut me off on this run today. How am I going to react when they cut me off? Am I going to go south side of Kevin or Kevin 2.0?
Right.
And so if I pre-decide, I'm going to smile and wave at them. Like I'm ready for that. It's a contingency. I'm ready for that potential outcome, and then I react to it. And so making some pre-decisions on, okay, if this does happen, when I strip this screw trying to put this door lock in the house, am I going to say every swear, or am I going to just walk away from it for a minute?
I like that idea of pre-decision. I've never really heard that. But if you think of like, what are the worst things that could happen here today? And let's just assume that's going to happen. Set my expectations low. And when it does, I've already thought it through. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to make sure I ask you here. I want to read one about imposter syndrome because I think this is so powerful. You were talking about, by the way, I want you to give some context here about the podcast 1720. I asked myself, what's worse, not excelling at something new for a little while or allowing fear to keep me from trying something new? I don't need to be the best. My voice, story, and purpose matter and can change someone's life for the better. And that's what I'm after. Even if no one listens, I'll at least know I gave it my best effort and I can add something to my resume. Maybe give the audience a little bit of quick context about 1720, the podcast there, and then maybe just talk about imposter syndrome because I think it's so pervasive.
Yeah, 1720. So we've been doing it about 3 years now. We're 140-ish episodes in, and I do this daily motivation email. I've been doing it 7-8 years now. It goes out every weekday. It started as just my internal team and quickly grew to a large group of people. And people would keep challenging me like, what's next, what's next, what's next? And eventually spun up this podcast. And it was another opportunity to turn a weakness into strength. Because even if you're talking to one of your best friends, when you put this mic and we do headphones, like it is a whole different dynamic. And you go in like the first 20, I would go from like, all right, cool as a cucumber. And then we put the headset on. I'm like shaking and I'm stuttering. I don't know what to say. And so putting those reps in built that into a strength. Like I wouldn't be able to sit here casual. I'd be freaking out right now if I hadn't put those reps in, and which has helped spin up the book and other things. And the funny thing is you're reading to me what I wrote, and I'm facing that in a week and a half with my first keynote. So now I'm going to go an hour with a microphone, but it's tied to the purpose. Like I'm going through this book right now, When People Are Big and God Is Small. And it's because we idolize people more so than God. And it's like putting that framework of these people are here cheering you on. They want to learn something. They want you to do well so they can absorb wisdom. Like curb that self-doubt, that fear. You're supposed to be here. You're right where you should be. And if my purpose is to build an army of mountain movers one person at a time, I got a chance to connect 300 plus people in a week and a half. Why would I say no to that because of a negative future emotion? Lean into it and try it. And what's the worst that can happen? What, are they going to throw tomatoes at you off the stage? Like
that does happen sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Not often. Though.
Probably south side of Chicago.
Right. The thing that really resonated with me was, I think, two parts of this imposter syndrome. One is, it will often come up as it did in your book here at the beginning, which is, who am I to write a book? Who am I to do a podcast? Why do I think, I'm good enough to do that? Then I think a lot of people feel this after they've done that. And guess what? It's successful. And then your business grows and you grow. And now you're doing the keynotes and you're doing all this. Imposter syndrome, I've found, it doesn't go away. No. And I think it comes back harder. And then you're like, you want to pay me what? To go talk about something I love in my book to these people? And then I could argue it's even worse later once you've accomplished something. how might you coach listeners who are at either one of those stages? I think you gave some context to the one where, hey, just start it, right? And if nothing else, even the worst case scenario, we did 25 episodes. I learned a lot. I got more confident. I asked better questions. You have to listen better,
yes,
despite the fact that I'm rambling on a 2-minute question. But also, like, how might you help someone who's already successful and you would look at them and be like, everybody thinks you're successful here, and yet you inside still have this idea that you're an imposter?
Yeah, I think you can. What I was thinking of the word pendulum when you were talking about that, and so proactive versus reactive, imposter syndrome on one side of the spectrum versus like cockiness. Like you don't want to overswing that, but you do want to put some mechanisms where that if your pendulum is swung too far in one direction, to get it back towards the center. Like understand why you're up there. Like if you're trying to speak about something that you're the subject matter expert, you're passionate about it, remember it's not about you, it's about the message, and you're just the courier of that message. And so whatever that is for you, it's okay. Like I had a business leader when we're talking about culture and values and we're going to pour into that in the business. He said, and it's also okay to talk about money. Like it is the byproduct. It's not the sun of our solar system, but we could talk about it. And same with where you're at. Like surround yourself with some people that can speak life into you. And I like Melanie, we're in her office right now. She's great at that, and she'll speak life into you. And if you're kind of imposter syndrome, you will counter with something negative about yourself, and then she'll say, "Shut up and take the blessing." And so, like, if that's broken into you, like one recommendation would be surround yourself with some good people because they'll do it for you, and they'll tell you to shut up when you try to dismiss it. But it's healthy to reflect your rejuvenation question from the very beginning. Like do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats in your life. Mm-hmm. Like there are strengths. Everybody has strengths, and everybody has the potential to do amazing things in this world if they're recognizing this stuff, playing to their strengths, trying to turn weaknesses into strengths. But it takes work. It takes work. It takes surrounding yourself with good people and a lot of consistency.
Yeah, you write about kind of developing your tribe. My wife and I have been having this conversation, and actually with one employee and another client on, we talk about this idea. Mainly it's around your activities and kind of what are the gold mines? Like do more of this activities and good things will follow. Like what you're strong at, how do we deliver more value? And what are the tar pits? What are the tar pits where you get bogged down? And a lot of this is, if we're just looking purely professional, it's emails, and it's like dealing with the stuff that you don't like to do, but you have to do it, and it sucks you down. My wife and I have been talking about basically one per year over the last 3 years, we've had kind of human tar pits that negativity were bringing us down, causing drama, and we together kind of made the easy decision, like we're gonna remove that human tar pit. We're gonna excise that and move on.
Yeah.
And we've talked to other people, and they're like, I cannot believe you just kind of cut them out of your life.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're neighbors, they're friends. They're like, they're around here. And we continue to run into them. And I said, at a certain point, I just don't have the energy. I don't have the attention focus. They don't deserve it. You move on. And 2 different people, also native Texans, said, well, that blows my mind. The only way that I can figure out that you can do that is because you're a Chicagoan. Now, that may or may not be true, but you talk about in the book, like who's in your tribe, and if they're not the right people, how do you get them out? I don't know. How might you coach people? And I feel 100% convicted in the decision. It was the right decision for us and our family.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but we did it. How might you speak to people that know there are people in their in-group, whether it's at work or personally, that are not helping them get to where they want to go?
Yeah, I mean, first you got to figure out where you're trying to go, right? Like, where are you trying to go, and are the people in your tribes helping you get there? And helping you get there not by like, can you help me? No, just like in community and helping you out. And you don't have to make this grand declaration like, hear ye, you are no longer my friend. Like you just start distancing yourself.
Yes, agreed.
Because if you say yes to them, you're saying no to somebody that could be far more aligned in your life, because any sort of leadership or entrepreneur, or the further you go in your career and your life, your time is more and more precious. And any yes that you say, even if you're not saying no, is a no to somebody else. And if I really want to have lunch with these groups of people, I need to protect my yes and say no. And so I'm able to buffer that. And it's not just like tribes that are like need to go, the tar pits, as you say it, but even additional people. Like I am so blessed to have amazing people surrounded by me, and I have to protect my time with them to keep pouring into those relationships and not keep adding, or there's just no value at the end of the day. And so where are you trying to go? And then are there some people where it's only the swearing, it's only the negativity, it's only gossip? And I don't know, gossip breeds gossip. Consistency breeds consistency. Discipline breeds discipline. Like, what's breeding in your life? And if it's like a tug of war, like it was for me, of I had my weekday tribe, my Monday through Friday, very professional, and then I had my Friday through Sunday tribe, which we literally called ourselves the Black Hole Hustlers. Like, that cannot be a good thing. Before I knew tribes was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, not good. And neither group knew about each other. I wouldn't tell my weekend group that what I did for a living or like anything like that. And then clearly my work people didn't know about that weekend group. Yeah. And that tug of war, that rope's going to break eventually. And it's not going to break in the direction that you want it if it's tugging at your heartstrings and at your soul. So surround yourself with some good people. Drop that rope and just focus on this side. And if you're sitting there, like, this is something that we wrestled with the book. Like, how do you go find the good people in your life if you're outside looking in? And you can either lay out names of people. So like, I like these 3 people. I would love to figure out a way to get closer to them. Ask them to a cup of coffee. Say, if you don't have time for a cup of coffee, could I just talk to you for a few minutes on the phone? And maybe that person's protecting their yes and they say no, but just keep trying. And if you can't think of names, what about type of person? So there are very close friends in my tribes now that I started by saying, all right, that dude is the best business development guy in this industry. And go to lunch with him and just flat out say that, like 10 plus years ago. Hey, dude, I respect you. It's amazing what you do in this market. I'd love to learn from you, because I was new at sales at the time. Now he's my best friend, and father, like Josh Carson, always give him credit for, like, he wells up every single time he talks about his kids. And this was before I even had kids, and it just blew me away. The daddy-daughter dances, the dressing up in a suit and getting her flowers and taking her to Chick-fil-A, and I'm like, just dumbfounded because I didn't see that. And I'm like, all right, if I ever have a daughter, I'm going to do that. And now I have a daughter, and now I get to do those things. And so when you surround yourself with people that are ahead of you in life, the same pace as you and behind you, you're able to mentor, you're able to be mentored, you're able to do life. And all of a sudden now my tribes, it's shuffled together. Work and personal are the same now. Yeah. And now I get to work with friends, which makes work awesome. It makes my personal life awesome. It's worth the effort, but it does take effort.
Absolutely. So watching the time here, we're going to finish with a prognostication. We're going to come back to our Chicago Bears. What do you think? 2023 record. Where will they be? This is the year. Well, I know you're already biased so much. Justin Fields is going to break out this year. If you like me are fairly convinced he's going to absolutely be in the Hall of Fame, this is the year he starts to really demonstrate that. End of the year. What's the record?
Are we 17 weeks now?
Yes, we're 17.
11-6.
Yeah. You're 11-6? Shit, I'll take 11-6. Look at me, I just swore. I'll take 11-6 all day.
I know.
I'm going 10-7.
Green Bay, we have Green Bay twice. Don't know what Jordan Love's going to do.
Yes, we do.
I'm a little nervous.
Yes, we do.
He's going to kill it.
No, he's not. You talk to any guy in Green Bay, they're like, so happy that dude is left. AR-12 is gone. Glad he's with the Jets. And I'm like, so you think Jordan Love's going to be good? They're like, no, he's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But at least we're done with the Aaron Rodgers show.
Yeah. He owned us. He told us in the end zone.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So no, I don't think they're going to be. And I mean, the Lions.
They're scrappy. Dan Campbell.
I know. I like Dan Campbell.
He's a beast.
Okay. All right.
11-6.
I did. I was going to say, if there was, I don't even know what the line is out of Vegas, but if it was like 10.5, I would absolutely be thrilled with that. I think they'll go 10-7. I'll take 11-6. All right. As we wrap up here, dude, appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Loved
of course.
hearing your story. Thought this was great. Appreciate you signing my copy. So we got another 15 copies that I'm going to send out to. I know this book will absolutely be a tool that people can use immediately with some things that they're dealing with. Make it extremely obvious where people can learn more, not only about where to buy the book, about mountain movers, keynotes, coaching. Right now is the time to make it super clear where people are interested, what they can do in a next step.
Yeah, so the website is www.mountainmoverarmy.com.
Okay.
And that's really the center of all things where you can get signed up for those free daily motivation emails if you're looking for morning encouragement. They go out when I wake up, so it's usually 4:10, 4:15 in the morning, Monday through Friday. You can contact me about worksheets that I have. The book is on there, which basically sends you to Amazon.
Okay.
I'm not doing the distribution thing yet. I just let Amazon take their cake and
good move.
Yeah. Just the easy
Keep
button.
it simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you could get there. My Instagram is at Carey, KJC. And then LinkedIn has a Mountain Movers page where you can follow where we do videos and share workshop stuff and just try to inspire people.
No. Well done. I was absolutely inspired, and I'm excited to know you, and I'm excited to see what comes next. So congratulations on all your success and whatever is coming next.
Likewise, man, and go Bears.
That's right. Go Bears. All right, then, friend, how did that go? Hopefully you enjoyed my conversation with Mr. Kevin Carey, founder of Mountain Movers. You can learn more by going to www.mountainmoverarmy.com. And if you did enjoy this conversation, if you would, on whatever podcast platform you are listening to, leave us a review. Those mean more to us than you know, as we strive to grow our audience, connect with more people, and share more insights. And if you are listening to this only, you are missing out on the video content that we are making available at YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and look for Bradley Hartman & Co. And you can see the entirety of my conversation with Kevin Carey, as well as small snippets of that to make it easier to share his insights. So do that. And if you're watching this on video, make sure you subscribe, and thank you. We will close out with our leadership mantra. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first. Make it a great week.